Hey everybody, I'm here at the organ at St. Stephen Presbyterian Church in Fort Worth, where I get to play every single week. We have a new chancel organ that's been installed. For those of you that have been following, you of course know all about this, and those of you that go to church here certainly know about it. And several of you have been following along this journey for the last, 5 years, I think it's been. Organ projects take a lot of time, which I discovered throughout this process. But last Sunday I was able to, or 2 Sundays ago, I was able to show the congregation first what the new chancel organ sounds like. And then it was of course featured at the convention, which was last week. Brilliant recital by Jan Crable, and of course we did an evensong, which really showed off the chancel organ really well in collaboration with the gallery organ. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a bit of a stop tour if you're interested in that sort of thing. I know a lot of you are interested in the sounds. You've seen all the mechanical things that go on behind the scenes, and if you've seen any of my posts recently. So anyway, the chancel organ is located in the chancel, and it's behind these screens, which are about 215 feet away from where I'm sitting right now. So it's quite a distance, but the reason for the chancel organ is not only to aid congregational singing at the front of the nave, in the transepts, and in the chancel. It's there to support congregational singing for that reason. It's there to support our 8:30 worship service, which takes place in one of the side transepts over there toward the front. And also the reason for enlarging it is to add more softer sounds, which would be more suitable for accompanying visiting choirs. There are many visiting choirs that perform here at St. Stephen. And the organ that was up there, that was installed in 1976, was pretty bold, and it is still there. The parts of that were taken by Quimby, cleaned, repaired if needed, and were brought back. So when I start our little tonal demonstration, I'll start with the old stuff that was there before, and then continue on to the new stuff. So there were just 6 ranks of pipes in the front, and they were all just in that middle chamber. And so the chancel grate is in this middle chamber right here. And then on the sides is the new chancel swell. And the total number of ranks in the chancel now is 29. It was 6, and now is 29. And I think the gallery organ is 71 or 72 ranks. So about 2/3 of the organ are in the gallery, and 1/3 of the organ is in the chancel. So let's start with the sounds that are original from 1976. So Mark Scott came on the scene. He was my predecessor, was here for 35 years, and soon after he arrived, the gallery organ was installed in 1971, and in 1976 already, Mueller was back to install the chancel organ. And the organ was prepared for that, so that was already part of the plan, and so he just was following through with that. So here's the 8-foot principle that is original to that. The 4-foot principle that goes with it. The 2-foot super octave, which was added by Dan Garland in 1993. And then the Mueller plein jeu mixture. And then rumbling around in the pedal, you can hear the 16-foot principle, which was added by Mueller. Which is a really huge scale. I mean, this room is pretty massive, so it needs to be. But you can see some pictures of me on Facebook lying on the floor next to some of those huge, huge pipes. So anyway, that is the original principal chorus that was in the chancel grate. Mueller also added the trumpet de fête, which is just a big, bold trumpet. that is up there, and I really missed it. It was gone for about a year during this process, so really missed this little trumpet. And there was only a stop knob for the 8-foot pitch of it, although it did go all the way up into the 4-foot octave. So what we did was we added a stop knob for the 4-foot octave. So here it is with its 4-foot. And then we added a 16-foot stop for it, because why not? And it takes the lower octave from the new 16-foot trumpet in the swell. So going down sounds like this. Which is pretty successful. And then together, the 16, 8, and 4 sounds a bit like this. So that's the original chancel organ. We did add one rank to the chancel grate, and that is an 8-foot whole flute, which is a wooden set of pipes, and they're open. So it sounds like this. Really beautiful solo voice that Quimby added. And then, of course, we added a Zimbelstern to the front organ, and it sounds like this. Now, I think this may be the only organ that I know of, at least in the United States, that has 3 Zimbelsterns. There may be some Lutheran congregation out there that has this beat. But when I started here, there were 2 Zimbelsterns up here in the gallery, and because the chancel organ, its main job was to accompany the 8:30 service down in the transept, I thought, it really needs to have its own Zimbelstern. So we have 2 Zimbelsterns up here. Here's number 1, number 2, number 3, which is in the chancel. And you'll notice they all sound very different, and that's on purpose. We didn't want to duplicate something that we already had with something that sounded just like it. So that's why they sound very different. So now on to all of the new stuff in the chancel swell. The chancel swell is quite large. A lot of the pipework was donated to us by Dan Garland, I think some from Quimby as well, which we're very grateful for. And then all the reeds are new, and there's some other pipework in there that I think is new as well. And just looking back through the files when we started this project 5 or 6 years ago, in our archives here at St. Stephen, we have all of the proposals from builders from the 1950s and 60s when they were dreaming of this building and dreaming of the instrument that would be in it. There was already plans for a huge chancel organ in every single one of the proposals. So we know that is what the vision was at the time. And plus this huge space up here was prepared. It was there as if a large chancel organ would eventually take its place there, which now it has. But I remember the specification from Ailey and Skinner. The chancel organ was so large that it even had its own 32-foot reed, which takes up a lot of space. So that was quite interesting. And some of them have a secondary console downstairs, some of those proposals, and that is part of the vision for someday. There's no second console at the front at this time, but at some point in the future, that's certainly in the back of our minds to take care of. But anyway, here, let's start with the 16-foot Lieblich, which is its own rank. It's not unified with anything else in the chancel swell, and it's probably the softest stop in the chancel swell. which is pretty soft, but it adds a good amount of weight to the bottom. Which you may not be able to hear over the air noise of this organ right here in front of me. Then there's an 8-foot flute traversier, or a harmonic flute, really beautiful. There's an 8-foot roar flute. And an 8-foot stop diapason. Which is made of wood, and it's also gorgeous. Now you may be asking yourself, if you're an organist, Jordan, why are there three flutes in the chancel swell? And the main reason is because one of these flutes probably should be on the chancel grate, one of these stopped flutes, and the reason is so that we can accompany some of the solo sounds in the chancel swell with that stop. So for instance, the roar flute, which I played for you just a second ago, is also available on the chancel grate at 8 and 4. And the reason for that is so that it can accompany sounds in the chancel swell. There is no more room in the chancel grate to add anything accompanimental like that, except for the whole flute, which in itself can be accompanimental or a solo voice. So that is why there are 3 flutes there. Then the really fun part is the strings. So here is the regular set of swell strings that we have in the chancel, and they sound like this. Which are very different than the strings that we have up here in the gallery. So I'm really excited about those. Then we have Vox Angelica and Vox Angelica Celeste, which I think means just voice of an angel. These are actually, you would think they would be very soft, but they're actually pretty big, almost like solo strings. And I'm not mad about that at all, because they're really beautiful. And the pipe scaling is very, very small, very skinny, and it gets you a really, really keen sound like this. With the Celeste. And then we have an 8-foot Flauto Dolce and a Flauto Dolce Celeste. And now, of course, we have to put all 6 of those ranks together. So the viol celeste, the vox angelica and its celeste, and the fado dolce and its celeste. And it sounds like this. And then let's subcouple and supercouple it, because why not? Here's the strings. And then we have the forfeit principle, which is just a stop that you have to have, of course. And so with the stop diapason and the viol, sounds like this. And then the 2-foot. Which is an extension of the stop diapason. Sorry, all the bells are going off right now. It is 6 o'clock. Here is a 4-foot nocturne. Which I believe is from the Austin organ at Highland Park United Methodist Church in Dallas, from when it was removed. Then we have some of the mutations. So here is the 2 2/3. With the 1 3/5. And then with a 4-foot and a 2-foot, and something to accompany with. So we have a cornet on the chancel swell down there. And then a mixture. I should have played that earlier. So here is the 8, 4, 2 2/3. We're not gonna have the 2-foot because this is a 2-foot mixture. It's 4 ranks. So that means when I pull on that stop, it's engaging 244 pipes. So with the mixture, the chancel swell planum sounds like this. If we want to compare that to the chancel great planum, that sounds like this. And then together. Now the fun part, well, another fun part. Here are the reeds of the chancel swell. Here's the oboe. Which will be really good for soloing out voices, but also choral accompaniment. Here is the new 8-foot trumpet. And it extends up to 4 foot. And extends down to 16 foot, which is also the extension of the trumpet de fête on the grate. Quite a sound. So the full chancel swell, give or take a few things, sounds like this. And you heard that get softer at the end, and that's because right behind the screens, in front of the pipes, are louvers that open and close, and I'm opening and closing those louvers with one of these expression pedals at my feet. Lastly is one stop in the chancel pedal that we added, and it's a 16-foot Borden, and I believe this came from the old Cassavant at Christ the King Catholic Church in Dallas. And it sounds like this. So it's a pretty big, weighty rank down there. The full chancel pedal, which everything else is borrowed from the rest of the chancel organ, sounds like this. And the 10 2/3 quint, which is taken from the 16-foot Borden, really adds a lot of gravity down there. It sounds like there's a real 32 down there. So now, full chancel organ, of course. Let's hear what that sounds like. I'll save the trumpet de fête for the very end. That is our little cap for the front organ. Let's see. Right. So there you have it. That is the new chancel organ at St. Stephen. By itself, it is the size of a lot of church organs, maybe even a little bit larger. We're so fortunate to have something like this here. In addition to accompanying choral music, accompanying worship services, aiding worship, singing in the front of the nave and in the chancel, it also helps the entire versatility of the entire sanctuary organ, the gallery organ, and the front organ. And when combined together, either with all of the strings or all of the flutes or all of the principals or the thrilling full organ from both ends of the church, the room really just kind of takes it, and it really blossoms in the room. And I was a little concerned that it might be too much for the room, which is strange coming from an organist to think something might be too much, but I was a little concerned about that. But actually it's not at all. It is a really, really good fit. There's still some work that Quimby has to do. There's some voicing that needs to be done, and this console that I'm sitting at is brand new. You can see pictures of that in some of my other posts, but there's still some work to do, but it's almost there. There's some blank stop knobs on this console, and some of those will actually be filled by this fall. So we're at 96 ranks now total for the sanctuary organ, and by January, February of next year, it'll be 100 ranks. So there's a 8-foot harmonic flute going in on the grate, and then a 1 1/7 and an 8/9 and a crumb horn going in the choir, thanks to a very generous donor who just saw these blank stop knobs and wanted to give to help complete the organ. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tour. Probably a lot less nerdy organ posts from me. Maybe, I can't make any promises, but since this project is coming to an end, there's nothing left to do now but just make music. I hope you enjoyed it, and come visit sometime at St. Stephen to hear this organ in person. It's really, really extraordinary.